right, knuckles up, everyone.
Get your knuckles up there. Come on.
See what you got, kid.
See.
How about a little fisticuffs? Yeah, here we go.
Give me a shot of bourbon.
Oh, I'm so angry.
I gotta take this guy to Palookaville.
Show and Sell.
Hello and welcome to Show and Sell, the show that celebrates digging through other people's trash. Hello, Trash Dragons. I am Chris, Trash Dragon of the West. That is my guitar, Mr. Blankenship.
Hello,
Hi, Mr. Blankenship.
Hello, back, is what he says, and reminds you to like, share, subscribe, and wishes everyone a happy 2025 because it's a new year and everything is possible now. And I also
you sell media on Discogs and eBay.
Yes, that is true.
Yes,
also,
he does. That's it. I'm Katie, and I'm Trash Dragon of the South, and I sell
most things. Sorry.
I like what's sparkly. I like sparkly things. I like shiny objects. I like unique things, spooky things, and I sell mostly clothing and accessories.
Joe.
Oh wow.
Okay, Joe. He likes a lot of things.
My name is Joe. I'm the Trash Dragon of the East. I have a little of everything and a lot of a lot of certain things. And last week, watch the last episode to get a good view of that. Like pins coming
from everywhere.
Pins.
Put a pin on it.
And we have a very special guest in Rich Dahm, who'll be coming on our second segment. He is the executive producer, former executive producer of the Colbert Report. He's written on sitcoms. He was an old Onion editor in the 90s, and generally a swell fella. So it's exciting, but unless you guys got something you want to say, we're going to move on to our first segment. The thing that brought us joy.
Swell fella. Oh no!
Yeah, well, we have to slog through our own stuff.
Oh, our own stuff. Okay.
Yeah. So first thing that brought us joy.
Can I go first?
That brought us joy. Yeah, Joe, bring it in. Ring it in for the new year.
It's right here. Happy 2025, everybody. I hope you have. Had a glorious New Year's, a glorious and responsible New Year's celebration. But I would like to. The thing that brought me joy is this was actually a gift from a friend of mine who has been throwing pot. He's an antiques dealer, capital A antiques. He's not. He doesn't like slog through piles of pins like I do. He actually he's like, oh, this is really good. It's nice, probably 19th century African sculpture. Really cool.
Oh, that guy.
He's the guy that I turn to whenever I have something that's out of my pay grade, which is, frequent. Anyway, he's been throwing pots, and so he made me throwing some pottery, and so he made me a mug. And it's that's
cool.
It's really nice. It's not high volume, but it's then become my mug of choice. And it's a really nice mug. Good solid handle, sturdy. And I've broken, I just broke my Entertainment Weekly mug about a month ago. So I'm happy to have a nice replacement mug. So this is the item that brought me joy.
Maybe why don't you go?
Oh, my item of joy was actually one of my Christmas presents for Oliver, the gentleman that I live with and married. He's very hard to shop for, but I decided to go with cat themed, and I have 4 cats that live in this house, several that live outside, but 4 main that live indoor cats. This was all thrown off by someone emailing me on a resale site and saying they couldn't find the item I had purchased.
Oh.
So he only got 3 cat items. It was devastating. But one of the coolest ones is this.
Oh.
It is a Bruce brass belt buckle.
Wow.
That is very, very cool.
That is very cool.
I love these. There's a few companies that do it, but it's very fun to find the vintage ones because there's a few old companies. I just clacked it. But the one that went missing from the resale site where I bought these was Danny, which is Bruce's brother. and I am devastated because I can't find another brass Danny. So if anybody out there has a line on a brass Danny belt buckle, I need it.
You should get a Sheila one made, and you can go to Australia as and Bruce and Sheila.
Bruce and Sheila. Yeah.
Hey, Sheila. She's right, Sheila. That I don't even know if that's
good. I can't do that accent very well.
Australia. Yeah. I can do it great, as everyone can just tell. Hello, Bruce. Real Bruce, that one. I'm basically just doing the Monty Python Australian accent.
I can only do Crocodile Dundee from that show I Love the 80s, where they talk about Crocodile Dundee, and I believe it's Hal Sparks does a car. What's a car? But that sounds like a New Jersey accent. Yeah, that's all I got. Because he says Crocodile Dundee acts like he's from the past, where he doesn't know what modern things are at all. Yeah. Anyways,
radio. What? It goes, are you saying it goes through the air like a mosquito?
What's the other one? Perfect ambient light. Still can't do it. That's weird. I can't. My mouth does not work with Australian. Chris, what's your item of joy?
Perfect ambient light. So this is a very specific. I bought this at $1 record. This is Jerry Reed. When you're hot, you're hot, including the single Amos Moses. If you haven't heard this, it's a great example of kind of country fried funk. Jerry Reed is kind of has a gospel-y country elements to it, but it's also Amos Moses is a funky song. And it's great. It's about a guy named Amos Moses who lives in the swamp and is just a giant of a man. And the end ends with the sheriff going to arrest him for illegally hunting gators. And I think the line is sure can get lost in the Louisiana bayou. You sure can get lost in the Louisiana bayou.
Sounds like my 2003 summer. Hold on. Can you show the back of that album?
Yeah.
I want to see what's happening on the back of it. The name of this album is
When You're Hot, You're Hot.
And the front, he is sitting on a crick.
Yeah.
And on a... Joe, back me up. Does When You're Hot, You're Hot, does that album cover... if you didn't know the name of that album cover...
I would never have guessed it was When You're Hot, You're Hot, because that's a novelty. This is a pretty upbeat and fun novelty song. When you're hot, you're hot. When you're not, you're not. When you're hot, you're hot.
It's not that's another gospel-y, funky soon.
But does it make you think of sitting on a crick in your best suit?
Nope. It makes me think. That's a little bit more like sitting in a car drinking a warm Budweiser in a Walmart parking lot at 9 o'clock at night. That's what when you're high. That's what should be.
Or like the craps table at Las Vegas or in Reno, and you're yeah.
Even better, yes.
But as you can see, it still has the Kmart sticker.
That is amazing. And I'm sorry, no disrespect to Jerry Reed, but his art person let him down.
So we're going to move on to our guest, who is Rich Dahm, and he's going to be great. I guarantee it. Trash Dragon of the Week. Rawr. It's Trash Dragon of the Week, who is Rich Dahm. Yay!
Hello.
Rich Dahm is
Wait, hold on. Trash Dragon?
Yeah.
Is that like, do I have to get knighted or something? Like, what do is there some sort of medal or?
Yeah, we're all we call ourselves Trash Dragons because we hoard trash, whereas regular dragons hoard gold.
I see. Good.
So you become a Trash Dragon for the length that you are on the show. But afterward, it is stripped away from you, the title.
The scales fall away and you are no longer a dragon.
But you're an old friend. I've known you since the 90s. You were editor of The Onion for a number of years. In the
Indeed, I was.
You were a executive producer for the Colbert Report, and you have written on sitcoms and done many things and won awards and have made your way through the jungle of Hollywood. And
yes,
and now you're on our show, the pinnacle.
I've reached the top at last. Finally here.
As Prince said, I reached the mountaintop and there was no one else around.
It's so nice to see you guys again. Like,
It's
you as well,
always a pleasure. You're
it's delightful.
fantastic human being who has a no doubt interesting thrift story. That could you tell us? Like, how did you start your?
So my thrifting is very limited. I decided fairly early on in my life that I wanted a library of films and TV shows. And I used to collect videotapes back in the day. I never went too crazy doing that. But then in the DVD, with DVDs, exactly what one of those. In the age of DVD, I just started accumulating things, and also because I was in show business, I would just get things, and I liked having this library, and it just has sort of built up over the years. And now I'm at a place where I have like most of the things I would ever seek out to buy, like the classic films that I want, and now I kind of just enjoy building on it and growing it more and more. But I want to do it for cheap, because now everyone's decided, now everything's on streaming. I don't need to own the DVD or the Blu-ray anymore, which is nonsense, because as we all know, at any moment things can be yanked. And I'll get to that actually in this conversation. Things can be yanked and lost forever. So that's why I focus primarily on DVDs and Blu-rays. But again, I try not to spend more than about $10 a trip. I try to stick to buying things like right down the street from me. I could walk to. There's a store. It's called Mega Media Exchange, and it's a local chain, and it's all used DVDs, video games, CDs, and then those Funko Pops. Everybody sells Funko Pops.
Yes,
which is something I got to wonder about. Like, are there people that are collecting those in massive amounts? Because it seems like you go so many places and they have those available. I don't know.
They're kind of like the Beanie Babies of the collector world. They reached their apex about a year or two ago, and now they're on a steep decline. And nobody so people, you're going to see more and more of those in thrift stores. But people are like, hey, I've got this exclusive Comic-Con Cyclops Funko Pop. I've always hated Funko Pops. I love whimsy, but Funko Pops, I'm just like, this is just taking money out of the pockets of good, hardworking companies that make good action figures. These are just garbage.
Exactly.
It's also extracting money from nerds by just kind of selling them slices of their childhood.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
I have one or two of those. I got a Bucky Badger one. That's fine. And then my wife got me one that was I don't know what the guy's name is. It's the drummer. She got a Funko of the drummer from Def Leppard for some reason as a joke. I don't know why. I don't know what that guy's name is. I'm sorry, I don't remember what the drummer's name is.
That's funny.
Rick something, right?
Yeah, it's Rick. It's Rick something, and I feel terrible. All the people watching this who are Def Leppard fans.
The famously one-armed drummer.
Yes,
Def Leppard.
Getting back to the
Rick Allen.
What we were talking about. Rick Allen. That sounds right. Yep. But that's up in the closet. I don't have that one out. So anyway, so that's my focus is just collecting DVDs and Blu-rays. And this Mega Media Exchange down the street, they have them for as low as 75 cents. And that's when I go nuts. Like, they were closing down one of their stores, and so they were selling all this stuff for 75 cents, and I got a ton of great stuff. And I'm going to show you some of it, or at least one or two things. So today I thought thematically I wanted to stick to one sort of thing, because I could talk about movies. I'm going to talk today because much of my background is working in television. I'm going to talk about variety shows that I've gotten on DVD. Okay. So the first, so I have little stories for each one. So the first one I'm going to show you is actually not a variety show, but a documentary about a variety show. And it is It is a disc called Smothered, and it's about the Smothers Brothers.
Oh,
so
whoa.
so if you don't know who the Smothers Brothers are, it's these two guys. They were brothers who did their
Tommy and Dickie.
What?
Tommy and Dickie Smothers.
Tom and Dickie Smothers. So here's a little story about this. So this is a documentary about sort of the struggles they went through to do their show. So in the late 60s, there was a CBS was losing audience to Bonanza, which was on NBC, and so they're like, let's throw a show on that we, they put on they gave the Smothers Brothers their own show, sort of almost as a sacrificial lamb. They almost thought like, oh well, this is just there's no way this show is going to be able to beat Bonanza. Bonanza's the
Right.
show. And it ended up, what happened is, because it was a show that was geared towards the counterculture and towards like young people, because they had like, they didn't have the Beatles on, but they had like the Who, they had all these great bands on, and they did a lot of like political humor, which nobody was doing. They they constantly had battles, and also like Steve Martin wrote for the show. And I believe he appeared on the show. Bob Einstein, who is Albert Brooks's brother, and also is
Super Dave Osborne.
Super Dave Osborne, exactly. And Rob Reiner was a writer also on the show. So it was this crazy like, and they ran somebody for president, this actor named Pat Paulson, who was kind of this hangdog looking guy, and. Anyway, it was this great show, and I got into it originally. I got into like I had remembered it when I was a kid. I was like, the show started like a month before I was born, but I remember it being on because they have a very distinctive look, because it's like these two sort of square looking guys, and then one guy's got this bass, and then the other guy's got the guitar. So anyway, so I was really interested in this, especially as someone who worked in political television, and I read this book, and my lovely wife, so this book came out like in 2009. It's here, I have the copy of it here. Hold on. It's Dangerously Funny. This I did not buy at the. This was a book I bought full price. Anyway, that told the whole story, and this is basically a condensed version of that, telling the whole story of how they fought the network, and the network basically didn't want them to win. Even though they were getting good ratings, they fought them at every step of the way. So, but what my wife did was, she saw I was really interested in it, and she went ahead and organized for me to meet Tommy Smothers, who was the funny one. He was the kind of the dumb one, but he was really the brainchild behind the comedy. And I got a chance to have dinner. My wife and I had dinner with Tommy Smothers and his wife on what turned out to be their last performance ever. Live performance, like this amazing gift that I got from my wife, and it was in Vegas. We had to go to Vegas for it.
Oh wow!
And it was just a lovely. I have a picture. I don't know if I could. I have a picture of the two of us. I don't know if that's something I can show you. I can send it to you later if you want to pop it in.
You can send it.
Yeah. So this picture of the two of us, and he was so great, and I had all these questions because he was like friends with John Lennon, and like it was like just he had so many stories, and it was just really just this amazing night. Also, that connected to that whole thing is he and his brother had a winery. Tommy Smothers died, I believe it was last year, and they had a winery. And my wife had gotten a case of their wine, and so I have a bottle. And as you can see, they signed it. That's actually their signatures on the top. But what I love most about this bottle is, I don't know if you can see it. You see this little logo here?
Yeah.
That's that silhouette. That's how the silhouette that started every episode. So the episode would start with the music, and you'd see the silhouettes of them, and then they'd come walking forward. It was just like, they did that on Sonny and Cher too. It was like, that was their thing. Yes. So anyway, that's the story of Smothered, and why I was willing to spend the 75 cents for this. So now we're going to move on from the 60s to my next DVD.
Please.
Okay. My next DVD, we're now into not the 70s, but actually more like the 80s, early 80s. This was something that I found at a thrift store somewhere. I couldn't believe I found it for $10. It's Pink Lady and Jeff. Okay, so do you know who Pink Lady and Jeff are? Do you know this? Okay, so this was a variety show that was on. So here was the story. So Pink Lady, you can kind of see from the picture. Sorry if you can't tell. There's these two Asian women. Mi and Kay were their names, and in the 70s they were this massive singing group. They used to do these songs, and they'd have all these like choreographed routines, and they were like Beatles level famous in Japan, like huge. Okay. So Fred Silverman, who was running NBC at the time, saw them and said, I'm going to put them on a show. And so he called up, of all people, Sid and Marty Krofft. Okay, so the guys who did HR Puff and stuff, and they had done Donnie and Marie. So they were like, we're going to do a variety show with these two women. And the problem was they didn't speak any English. So they knew no English. And for a while there was like this, they were like their manager or their handlers were basically saying, oh yeah, they know English. So they were developing this whole show about them knowing English.
Oh no.
Didn't know it. So they, and also because they wanted to have, I guess, another like host, they got this guy, Jeff Altman, that's this guy, to co-host the show with them. And it is a disaster. Like, it is a crazy, it's so bad, but it's so enjoyably bad. So this contains every episode of the show, which is 6. There's 6 episodes, and they're full episodes, and it's got guests like, okay, this is now I got to put my glasses back on.
Okay, I'm gonna guess.
Yes, I'm reaching.
Is Rich Hall one of the guests?
Rich Hall is not. Rich Hall was, I think, slightly too hip. Although Rich Hall was too hip. Here's some names. Okay, so they also showed videos. Like, that's like very early in the video. So they had Blondie, but Blondie never showed up on the show. It was just like they had a Blondie video that they put on. They had like a Cheap Trick video that they put on. But here, Bert Parks. Do you guys know who Bert Parks is?
Yeah, vaguely.
He was the guy who hosted Miss America. Miss America. Sherman Hemsley, you know that, Mr. George Jefferson,
and avid fan of progressive rock music, prog rock.
Sherman Hemsley is?
Yeah, he was like really into.
I didn't know that.
There's a story about him having a room devoted to the band Gong.
I've heard of Gong.
Yeah,
heard of them. Don't know anything about their music.
Yeah, just really into like prog rock.
Yes,
I love that.
Other people, Lauren Green from Bonanza, which we mentioned before. Red Buttons appeared a bunch of times. Byron Allen, who's now a billionaire, was on the show because that was during he was on Real People. He was one of the main people on Real People. Jim Varney in his early days, I guess, before he became Ernest.
Byron Allen owned the Weather Channel?
He might. He owns a ton of stuff. So since we're talking about people having I don't have as much to say about this one because I don't have a backstory. So I found this for 75 cents as well. It's This Is Tom Jones, What's New Pussycat? And it is what it is Tom Jones had a show around the same time as the Smothers Brothers. But just to remind you, this is a reminder of the Smothers Brothers, in case you've forgotten from 10 minutes ago.
Oh, Smothers Brothers.
So he had his own sitcom, or not sitcom, his own variety show. My mom was a huge Tom Jones fan, so we always watched this. And it was a British, it was ITV, I think it was an ITV show. So it would start with that da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da, music, with the spinning diamonds. Yeah. Which like Space 1999 and all kinds of different shows used to start with that. Anyway, so it would start with that, and then he'd come out and he'd sing, and he was great. Tom Jones is just the best. Yeah. And this is actually just a kind of a sampler disc. It has 3 episodes on it. The most interesting thing that's on, he's among the guests that he appeared with in this particular disc is Cass Elliot, Mama Cass.
Oh yeah.
John Denver. He did it. This is very early John Denver. Tim Conway, the Bee Gees were on, and Lynn Redgrave.
Whoa. There you
go. And interestingly, because the show was on from 69 to 71, George Carlin, before he grew out his beard, when he was sort of a straight comedian. Yeah. So there's him doing sort of like straight, sort of like sitcom or not a variety show comedy. And it's odd to see him do that because he did such radical stuff after that.
Yeah.
But
it's like saying like 1950s pictures of Willie Nelson, where he's just very clean cut.
Yeah, very clean cut. Yes, exactly. It's kind of that thing. But you got some great Tom Jones singing in there. They do time. This is put up by Time Life, so they actually you can get more like complete shows, I guess. Although one of the things that's annoying about buying variety shows on DVD is they often pull things out because of rights issues, because of the music, because you can't always include. For instance, the first episode on here had the Dave Clark 5 listed as one of the guests, and that isn't on here, so you can't watch the Dave Clark 5, which is
why WKRP in Cincinnati, like they just put generic music on it.
Yes,
some of the episodes where like they do a whole episode about the song "Imagine" by John Lennon, where like a sort of religious extremist doesn't want it on the air,
right?
And they're just like, they make a whatever point. But
yes.
I also want to point out that like the Bee Gees were a great like psychedelic band from the 60s. Like their early stuff is great in a totally different way from the disco stuff.
Yeah, they were kind of a British invasion band, like sort of end of British invasion, and they were great. And then they totally changed their sound. They did it multiple times though in their careers. They just kept and then in the disco era they obviously hit it really big. So
megastars.
Anyway, so this is a fun little find. Again, 75 cents. Found it over at the same place. 75 cents. Perfect little sampler. Pop it on for a little Tom Jones action. Yeah, there you go. There's my presentation of variety show DVDs. Yes. I hope you enjoyed.
Where have you found? I know that like everyone gets lucky thrifting, but have you ever been somewhere strange and found like a small store that just had a wealth of stuff you hadn't seen before?
Yes, there's actually a St. Vinny's here in Waukesha that I periodically find the greatest stuff at. It's mostly like, shopping for DVDs, you run across a lot of the same crap. Yeah. It's a lot of John Wayne movies, like a
lot of copies of This Is 40.
A lot of copies of This Is 40. A lot of Harry Potter movies, like tons of all the Harry Potter movies. So you run into a lot of things, and right here in the Midwest, there's a lot of like Christian movies, like Heaven Is for Real. Like I see lots of copies of that. I find that like what I'm usually looking for is older movies. I also like to find sort of like Warner Brothers put out a bunch and TCM put out a bunch of these collections that have like 4 movies on them. And that's like hit jackpot because it's like, pay like $3 and you get 4 movies. So it's a little under $1 each. But I have so much now that I've had to keep track of what I've bought with an app.
That was my other question. Do you have a spreadsheet? Okay, there we go.
I have an app here. It's CLZ Movies I use. And every time I get a new, because you can just scan it and it'll scan the UPC code and then it'll scan in the information and it'll put it in your list. But sometimes for whatever reason, I like it sorts things in a weird way sometimes. And so I'll accidentally buy something a second time that I thought I already had. So the only time I ever really sell anything is if I have any of these doubles that I don't want to keep.
So you lied to us before when you said you didn't sell things.
Well, I actually haven't done it yet. But I plan to. How about that? So I plan to do it.
I plan to have lied to you.
I plan to have done the thing that I didn't do yet, but yes.
So if there's an app, that means you've got storage. How are you storing your DVDs, and what number are we looking at? You can give us a range.
I couldn't even begin to tell you the number. I don't think I'd say it's fair to say 3,000 to 4,000 discs in the basement. I would say is pretty fair. I'd say that's about right. I have a picture. I actually took a picture.
Yeah.
Which I can also send you of, and I'm in the process of resorting. So there's like a little empty space. Believe me that, and if you could see on the other side of the side where I took the picture from, I have a big stacks of DVDs there. I'm trying to figure out a way to where I can put, like, trying to keep the movies separate from the TV because it's just easier to find stuff. And are
they alphabetical right now? Or
all
are they
alphabetical. It's all alphabetical. Although I am considering changing that, because when you have those disc sets that are multiple movies, then I don't have a way of really alphabetizing that. So that just goes in the various artists section of my movies. So and I don't really discriminate. I like everything. Like I have movies of all genres. I'm not huge on Westerns, so I don't have a ton of those. I really only have like the classic ones. And war movies I'm not big on. But other than that, again, other than the classics.
Was there something that you hunted for a long time that you now have?
This was actually something I was looking for.
It was?
It was because it was like for a long, it's out of print. So it's not easy to find, and I didn't want to just buy it from like on Amazon and overpay price, or on eBay. So I've lucked out. I'm trying. There is something that is, oddly enough, one thing that is elusive, and I did have the one, the Stockard Channing show. Not like that's like a big goal. I really have to have that or anything.
I would buy that.
One thing I do kind of like this era of movies and television, and this was a similar situation where I saw a copy of What's New Pussycat the movie, and this says What's New Pussycat on it, but it's not obviously the movie, but it has the song in it, and that's one I've been looking for, and I haven't been able to find.
The Woody Allen movie, What's New Pussycat?
Woody Allen's in it, but it's Peter Sellers and Peter O'Toole, and it's like, it was a big hit movie, but I've
seen the soundtrack a bunch, but
yeah. I don't think it's a particularly good movie, but I just want to have it. That's what you do when you have this illness. You just want to have.
If only I could relate. Let's move on to the next segment, which is Joe.
Tales from the Flypt.
Tales from the Flypt. Tales from the Flypt. Tales from the Flypt. Have you ever found a little fun bonus item in something you've bought? I'll go first because no one can stop me. Right. I let the power of the show go to my head almost immediately.
What a flex. That's quite a flex there.
Yeah, I first. So you guys know, I possibly, maybe you don't, but I have a wall of pictures that I found at thrift stores. I try to collect very personal pictures, something that like people would like clearly meant something to someone. And I take them and I put them up on my wall, and it's funny to me just because it's just a random assortment of weird people
that you don't know.
I've never met. I know none of these people. But occasionally you'll just, I bought books where there's just like pictures stuffed inside, like just including this one, which this is a good one.
Are they on a jet ski?
Yeah, total jet ski. They're just having a good time.
Jet ski, Josh and Cameron.
Yeah. Very nice.
Joe, why don't you go?
Well, it kind of reminds me of the time I sort of, it wasn't a thrifted item. I actually almost tricked myself into, I had tucked something into a book of my own and then I ran across it. I can't even remember what the book was, but it was a signed concert ticket from Jeff Buckley.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, cool. Whip, post, and it sold for about $100 in a day.
Wow.
Then somebody messaged me, do you have any more? It's like, how many Jeff Buckley signed tickets am I supposed to have on hand?
I got loads.
I can forge
I'm
them
lousy
for
with
you,
Jeff
but-
Buckley tickets. Yes.
Wow.
But
Go to
So, yeah,
jeffbuckleyticket.com.
it's the only thing that came to mind though was that it was just boring. I was working. I was helping set up an auction, and the auctioneer had this leather satchel. He's like, here, you can just have this. We can't sell this. I'm like, okay. I unzip it and check the pockets, and there's like $80 in there, and I'm just like, here's your money back.
Yeah.
So it's that was kind of nice, but I can't. Nothing else really sprung to mind when I thought about that. That was pretty much it. My brother has a lot of good luck finding 5s and 20s in suit coats and pants pockets that he gets at the St. Vincent de Paul Dig and Save in Madison.
Yeah.
Visit.
Oh,
So
nice.
on 2 occasions he's gotten money. So
Wow.
yeah.
But you also found that Coca-Cola truck that had the little miniature thing.
Miniature hand truck.
Yeah, which is
But that's
still
I think that's actually part of it. So it's not.
Yeah,
it wasn't
I
a
know.
bonus item, but it was still kind of cool. I was like, this is giant. And then it has a little. It's like a gigantic, really heavy. It's probably about 2.5, 3 feet long Coca-Cola delivery truck made of wood and metal, and it has a
cool.
little metal hand truck inside that you can, which is neat. But it's
It's neat.
it didn't really count as a bonus item so much.
Right.
Katie, what did you think about this one?
I'm so sorry. I'm waiting to hear our guest story very, very patiently.
Okay.
Okay.
It actually transitions a little bit out of what you guys are talking about. Okay, so you guys, as you mentioned maybe at the top, I used to write for the Colbert Report. Okay, so what I was going to show as one of my variety shows is that I found this. Okay, unfortunately, this copy. So at the Mega Media Exchange down the street, this copy is actually one that I got for free. So I didn't actually buy this one. So I was like, I have to stick to the rules. I have to buy it. So I went down the street and found it just right before the show for $1.99. There it is. $1.99. Okay. Which I knew it was there because I go to the store all the time. And I wanted to talk to you, Chris and Joe, because you guys worked at the Onion and you worked on books and stuff. How do you feel when you find something that you worked on in the remainder bin? Because that is something I have a little twinge of sadness when I see it, even though I'm not even talking about the financial aspect of it. I'm not getting your residuals or whatever from it. It's more someone didn't want this. They didn't like it enough to keep it.
Yeah.
It always kind of bums me out a little bit. I don't know about you guys. Do you have that experience?
A little bit.
I have it. I used to make sweaters, and sometimes I found one at the Goodwill once.
Oh, wow.
It bummed me out because I didn't make that many for that long. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I guess I did a bad job on this one.
Yeah.
They were custom. I used to do the big Union Jack on cashmere sweaters. I would cut it and sew it, but I would hand sew them. They weren't that great. I'm not that great at.
Oh, come on.
No, they were a cool idea for someone who was very good at crafting. I just wanted to make them, but it did hurt. It
hurts. You put all that work into it, and then somebody just discarded it, and and so that's how I felt. So I didn't actually explain what this is. It's called, this disc is the best of the Colbert Report, which is a show I worked on. It's and it was put together by Comedy Central. I had nothing to do with the compilation of this, even though I was one of the co-EPs on the show. So, and Steven had nothing to do with it. None of us had anything to do with it. It was Comedy Central's baby. They put it together, and it was right before not the most recent writer's strike, but before that. So this went out. I didn't really care about it because I was living the show. But in my free version of this disc, it just was a disc, just the one disc in it. This version, the one that if you bought it in a store, actually came with a bonus that is still in here, which is, and I must point out also before, I'll just say what this is. So this is Tech Jansen. It's a disc of the episodes of the animated show that we used to do on the Colbert Report. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I used to have some of the comics.
Yes, exactly. And so that was like a cool extra bonus, because here's the other thing. In this new Hollywood that we live in and things going away, and the reason why I collect DVDs is the show that I worked on, this show that I bled for 9 years, earlier this year, Comedy Central / Paramount, the company Viacom, completely just wiped out everything that ever, like they closed down their website. So, and that's where all of these things lived. And now none of them, they're all gone. So it's all gone. Like you can't find, and like there was like a whole lawsuit that happened right around the launch of YouTube, that like Viacom sued YouTube because they were because that's where all the videos were going. Rather than figuring out how to work with YouTube, they decided to just sue the hell out of them. And then I don't know how that turned out, but all I know is now you can't watch any of the episodes of the thing I worked on anymore. So that's a bummer. So that's a bummer. But anyway.
To answer your question, so I, like Joe and I both worked on Onion books, and you see those fairly frequently in, and I don't really feel that bad about it. It's a little bit of a bummer, but I mainly just am like, well, they probably don't like the other people's writing that much. So,
exactly. Other stories that I didn't do.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
I'm sure like my stuff is probably well loved and appreciated. But
yes,
I bought a copy of my own book, one of the books at a yard sale once. I was like, oh, okay. I'll just put this in it was actually the book club edition, which I never got a copy of. So I was like, oh, I'll just put this along with the other copies. I never feel that bad about it. The only time I felt a twinge of bad about it is when my dad said, oh, I found this at the thrift store. Here, I thought I'd give it to you. I'm like, so you don't even want to keep it yourself. I don't need a copy of it.
Dad.
Why are you telling me this and then giving me this copy?
No.
I already have a copy, and you're giving me a copy that you bought that you evidently don't want.
I didn't get any residuals for it's secondhand.
Yeah, exactly. I never got any. Yeah, no money extra for that. Yeah,
but it was well-meaning. It didn't hurt that much, but I was just like, oof, damn. Yeah. How do I say? Is there a polite way to say I don't need a copy? There is not. Thank you, Dad. Is what it. That's how
that's been Christmas at my house for many years. You kind of understand me.
Jeff Dunham. Yes, he does comedy. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, you like comedy? You like puppets, right?
Someone, I remember. I'll cut this out, but someone gave Vicky a book copy of The Help.
Right.
The Emma Stone.
Yes.
Like, because they're like, you like the 60s, and it's just like, yeah, no, was true.
Was it a family member, or was it?
Yeah, it was someone in her family, and I was just like, wow, you really missed the mark.
Yeah.
But Katie, do you want to go, or are you going to just try to you want to sleep in?
Just let it be.
Okay, let it be.
Pretend like I went. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, no, Katie, good job. But guys, I think we did it. I think we did another 5-star.
But how many thumbs up are there? I count 2, 4, 6, 8 thumbs up. This is a record for us. We've never had an 8 thumb up episode before.
That's true.
Now, the fact that we used all these thumbs, we are now in danger of getting sued by the Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel estates. So,
allegedly, we are allegedly a half a thumb up.
Yes. It's knuckles up. If you say knuckles up, you're good. Knuckles up.
Knuckles up. It sounds like an old time fighting slang. All right, knuckles up, everyone.
Get your knuckles up there. Come on.
see what you got, kid.
Let's see.
How about a little fisticuffs? Yeah, here we go.
Give me a shot of bourbon.
Oh, I'm so angry.
I gotta take this guy to Palookaville. All right, so Rich, if you want to sing along to the closing talk, you can.
I will hum along. I don't know if I actually know the words, but I'll sing along. Go.
Thank you for watching Show and Sell. If you remember, hit like, share, subscribe. But if you don't, everything is gonna be alright. And if you do, things are gonna be a little brighter for us. There's an algorithm controlling all of our lives. Thank you for watching Show and Sell. If you remember, ring the bell. All right, good job, everyone. Thank you so much, Rich, for coming on. And
I had a great time. Very enjoyable.
You are
Happy
the best.
2025, everybody.
Yeah, happy 2025.
Happy 2025.
It's the year where everything's going to finally happen, and it's going to be great.
It's going to be great. 2025.
It has to be.
Hey, thanks for coming, everybody.